do is we just swapped to Korea to explain what's going on, guys. Both players were suffering some lag here in North America as they're both Korean players. So I said, hey, well, we just swapped servers. It makes a lot more sense. You get better gameplay out of it. It'll be more entertaining for the viewers. And they're both like, yeah, sure, why the hell not? So just give me 1 sec. We'll get everything sorted. Gotta make sure Dat Stream is back online. Alright, cool. So, without further ado, guys, spawning in the top left corner of the map, he is currently leading the series 1-0 from the team Love Your Girlfriend, the Korean Protoss known as Tassadar. And his opponent in the upper right. My mouse appears to be stuck. There we go. Sorry about that. Playing for Axiom, it's the Red Terran. Ba-bump, 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 heart. And I know a lot of people hate me for doing that, but I love doing that. Now, let's swap health bars here to not always on. Damaged, sorry. Haven't cast on Korea for a while, so I've got all the settings a little bit off. At any rate, guys, this is still the semifinals for the ZOTAC Cup. This is the second to last ever ZOTAC NA Cup, which is really a sad thing for me to come to the realization of, as this has been a big part of who we are, and this was a big part of how we got to be who we are. But you know, it is what it is, and we're gonna choose to celebrate all these awesome games as they come to an end, rather than get like mopey and sad about it. So, to explain real quick, the reason the ZOTAC NA Cup is getting shut down is a combination of very small sign-ups. I imagine the viewership's probably not what the sponsors wanted. I don't know. I don't work for ZOTAC. I've just read the blog posts they made, and I've had a lot of experience. I've cast almost every single North American Cup in the last year and a half. So, I can understand why they're shutting it down. It makes me really sad, but we're going to do what we can to try and make up. We're throwing a sort of a last hurrah tournament as well to celebrate it. If you guys haven't seen, Base Trade TV is going to put on a $150 tournament. Might be a little bit more, but don't tell anybody. And the only people who can play in that one are going to be people who participate in these last 2 ZOTAC Cups. So January 25th will be the last ever North American ZOTAC Cup. If you want to play, or if you have Grandmaster OP friends who want to play in that tournament that we're going to host, tell them to sign up and play. They don't have to win. They just have to actually play in one of these last 2 cups. At any rate, Heart versus Tassadar continues, and we're going to focus on this more than anything else, as this is a deciding game for who goes towards the finals. Tassadar leading 1-0 is definitely a good spot to be in. Heart, oh man, he played so well in game number 1, but unfortunately just got tossed in the end. And I don't mean that to say pro-tossed. I mean just out the door. The bad engagement cost him everything. And hopefully, I'm hoping on Korea these guys can have a little bit better control over both of their I guess armies. But yeah, okay, so Tassadar are going to miss scout twice, not a big deal. Frost is definitely not a fun map to deal with all-ins on. It's very popular, very common to see blinks come out on Frost and on Polar Night, for example, but whether that ends up being the case or not, we'll have to wait and see. Heart's going to get this bunker down right away, though, to make sure early pressure doesn't catch him off guard. Again, please remember that last game, like, despite the fact that Heart, you know, looked really good for a lot of that game, he suffered from proc early on. He really suffered from that early harass. Now, putting a Marine in the bunker doesn't outright stop harass from coming, but can deter it sometimes. The Protoss player can misjudge having Marines in the bunker. Maybe too scared to push forward. Pylon going to come down. I imagine somewhere in here. Tassadar, the one thing we got to give him credit for is, it's not that he puts proxies down, but he makes himself constantly available in multiple locations of the map and doesn't just stick on a death ball. I mean, okay, ultimately that's what happened, so sue me. But, you know, in other games that we've seen him play in the past,
First Blood.
SCV going to die. But in other games we've seen him play in the past, one of the big things is like he's able to constantly be multitasking. And we'll see if that comes into effect this game or not. Going for a quicker Templar Archives, or sorry, quicker Twilight Council though, and in a very odd spot that Heart will most likely not scan anytime soon. This may be that blink that I was talking about earlier. We'll see if the extra gateways come down or not, or if this leads into Dark Templar or something a little more offbeat. But the reason Blink is so popular on this map is because you come in from so many different locations and get into the main. And as a Terran player, it's not fun dealing with that. Not at all. One of the coolest things I do like out of Heart, though... Oh, no. Okay, so he is preparing. He, like, right now what Heart's setting up for, guys, is he's expecting Oracles to come. But that's not going to be the case. You and I know it is, in fact, going to be Blink Stalkers. According this out, too, how many gateways does he throw down is going to be the big question. If he puts down more than 3, it's kind of an all-in. If it puts down 3, it can be kind of classified as pressure. But anyways, if you get a siege tank down, if you scout this coming, if you are prepared, you can hold off blink stalkers. It's not the end of the world, but sometimes, even if you scout it coming, it's a little bit much to deal with. With the factory coming down, though, and no further scouting information, I'm a little bit scared for Hart. One thing I was going to talk about earlier, I liked his usage of Widow Mines in the last game. They were really effective, and a couple Widow Mines out early here could be what saves him this game. But unfortunately, he's producing a lot of Marines, he's getting Stim Pack out, and he's getting ready to deal with Oracles, and it's not going to be Oracles at all. And Hart, I really feel like he's playing to the player right now in the metagame than he is more so than the map. And let's not forget, again, on Frost, you can kind of expect this sort of playstyle. But 3 gateways in total. He will scan these gateways, but doesn't see the Twilight Council. This doesn't look like Blink. Sorry, not 3 gateways, but 5 gates in total. But 5 gates off of 2 bases is not out of the ordinary. This is something you would expect to see. It's the Blink that is the big question. So being able to warp in a huge amount of stalkers, 1 bunker down, another one coming down, 2 bunkers won't hold, there's 1 coming in the main. So okay, Hart I think knows. He smells something's up. He might not know straight up that this is going to be a blink all in, but he's preparing for it anyways. If SCVs are in mass, you can try repairing, but sometimes that stalker count just gets out of hand to the point where you cannot out-repair the damage they do. Widow Mine coming down is going to be huge. So if you pick off the Mothership Core, you shut down so much of this push early on, it's not even funny. Like killing the Mothership Core is such a critical part about holding against this if you can't kill the Stalkers. And quite frankly, 3 Marauders should be able to do quite a bit here, along with the Marines. Trying to get here from the high ground to shoot down. Gonna repair that bunker. Will barely keep it alive. Oh my god, it will live. Just barely does go down there in the end. SCV's the bigger surround here on that second bunker, though. Needs to put a Marauder in there, I fear. But, of course, if he leaves 1 in the bunker, then he's got nothing for the main. Tassadar a little bit hesitant to move forward with the Mothership Core. He knows that there's a Widow Mine waiting for him. SCV's loaded preemptively into here. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you click on them. Bunker will go down. Time Warp is slapped on top of this. SCVs are not going to be pulled into the action because the Marauders should be enough to deal with this. Mothership Core will take a bit of pepper from the Widow Mine, but it wasn't the target. It was the Stalker underneath. Now the SCVs have been pulled, and Hart should be able to push this back. He might not have concussive shells, but he does have Stim Pack going for him. Some Zealots being warped in here, though, are going to change that up just a little bit. No more bunkers here to retreat to, and there's not enough medevac energy to really keep this going. Another Widow Mine is going to try and rearm. Another Widow Mine is being brought forward. Mothership Core is not going to be as scary of a thing, and looks like Hart should be able to hold this, guys. These Zealots are doing way more damage than they should be afforded to, and the Widow Mines are going to go off on those Stalkers quite nicely. Hart's going to push this back and pick off a couple more Stalkers, but he's still not out of hot water yet. The pressure from Tassadar is being laid on thick. He's on 2 bases, and he's killed quite a few probes. He's okay to macro out of this. Trying to cut the Zealots back. The Marauders should be able to beat back the Stalkers, and this one Widow Mine on the high ground, still in a really good spot to take further fights. Can't quite clean this up. I'm going to reposition the Widow Mine, saying, alright, you know what, this is a good spot for blinking up, but he's not blinking up. He's constantly pushing my natural. Again, a big part of this was that Mothership Core going down for Tassadar that really limited. He can only fight in 1 location instead of 2. Widow Mine is unfortunately going to splash damage down the Marine. A bit of a scumbag move there. But blinking away from that hit does manage to minimize it. Tassadar, though, has way too few Stalkers for how many Marauders are currently available. Production-wise, we got concussive shells coming up in a second, and right now the Stalkers blink back and slowly walk away. And it's working, and that's what's keeping them alive. But with concussive shells finishes up, it's going to definitively cost the Stalkers their lives. Fighting on top of the Widow Mines, perhaps doesn't know that they're on cooldown, are coming off cooldown in a moment's time. SCV should be brought back. There we go. Hart really doesn't need to over-dedicate to this. It's really important he doesn't under-respond, but I like that he's playing this out pretty much just... They're trading back and forth. There's nothing too crazy. Mothership Core now in the front lines. Once again, going to allow Blink to the main. This will catch Tassadar a little bit, or sorry, Hart a little bit off guard. Oh, that Time Warp's not a force field, but it's really darn good. Tries to get the combat shields just barely. Oh my god, he's going to keep this alive. He saves the combat shields for the Marines, and he drives Tassadar out of the base. A really clutch repair on a Hart. That was seriously burning down. 1 hit from dying. Didn't matter for the Stalkers. The fire might have killed it, but responding in just the nick of time. Hart with some really great control still in this game, and quite frankly, he's actually looking pretty good. Now, Tassadar is not behind because this wasn't one of base all in. This is why he's not GGing out. He's in a pretty good spot himself. But Tassadar is going to be fighting a Templar. He's got combat shields. He's got +1. There's 5 freaking medevacs and some Widow Mines to boot. Not to mention Stim Pack. So Hart is actually looking pretty solid right now. If he were to go for a counterattack, I feel that it would go really well because he's got concussive shells too. The Zealots, without charge, are going to have no chance of connecting with those Marauders. Looks like he is going to push out, guys. So resources lost, not looking so great for Tassadar. He's going to have an overcharge available back at home, I think. Where's this Mothership Core? No, just barely doesn't have the energy yet. But Stalkers are anticipating a drop in the main, but it's just a giant push from the natural. There's a lot of Zealots here, though, guys. Don't get me wrong. Force Fields will come into effect, so will Guardian Shield. We'll see what damage Hart can get done. He shouldn't be able to end the game here, but he's going to take a pretty good engagement one way or another. And there's the Force Field I was talking about. Can pick up, does pick up. Loses the medevac, though. A little unfortunate. So it's one of those risky gambits that he did decide to take. But the Force Field is fighting against the Zealots here. Playing against them, keeping them back, and the Marauders continue to push forward. Hart looking to be pretty darn good this game. Overcharge is going to go off on that Nexus and start... Well, he's going to start stutter stepping backwards. Last couple Stalkers are going to go down here, though, and the Marauders are looking so darn strong. But like I said, this isn't enough to quite end the game, but it did a lot of damage. Another Marauder is going to go down on the back end of this. Rallying more reinforcements across the map. Going to get some more medevacs, too. Widowmine's even going to be brought forward, realizing, wow, my opponent doesn't have a lot of units left. There's no way he's making Templar, and there's no way he's able to afford Colossus if he has to keep producing a ton of Gateway units. So Hart on the front lines once again, looking to go in. We'll see what damage he can get done. This is looking a little bit more scary for Tassadar. The Overcharge is going to run off in about 20 seconds or so, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to keep count in my head, but the Marauders just don't take that much damage. Charge slots are finished, but of course with concussive shells and some insane micro, good game is going to be called, and Hart will bring the series back, bringing it back 1-1, and taking us to game number 3. Oh, sorry, deep breath, guys. We'll see what the next map's going to be. I love this series. This has been great.